Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's February 20th. These are your headlines. Pretty much if you're fishing right now, you're ice fishing. And the great thing is we're seeing lots of different species right now. We've got all different species of trout. We've got, all the stocky, from tigers and brook trout to rainbows to brown trout. We've got sea forellins. We've got some lake trout coming through. Guys are doing really well on those. Also, pike and pickerel, been very good this week. Largemouth and smallmouth bass, very good this week. Lots of panfish and even some striped bass. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. First one, I just want to do a couple of public service announcement type things. First thing, we had a lot of rain over the weekend, as I'm sure most of us across southern New England are well aware. And rain like that is the enemy of safe ice. So you really need to be extra careful right now. I know it's been very cold these last 3 days after that rain. And, behind me, we've got some salt water. We've got lots of ice out there. So it can be deceiving. But, a lot of places, especially along the coast, had some open water in the middle last week. Those places may have frozen over now. But what we're going to start seeing is a lot of uneven thickness, which is really dangerous when you're going out on the ice. So you want to make sure that you're checking everywhere you go. You're measuring, with your ladle, just checking, you're on 6 inches, you're on 5 inches. All of a sudden you're down to 2 inches. You may want to go in a different direction because you may be heading toward one of those places that's just barely skimmed over. And if you're not careful, you could find yourself going for a swim, and that could be very, very dangerous. You also want to have your spud bar when you're getting on and really everywhere you go. And you want to stay away from anything that's protruding through the ice, like a boulder or a tree that fell in the water or any bushes or anything like that, because those are the places where, when the rain hits and starts to run off the edges, creates open water around them, and then it can refreeze when it gets cold like it has been and be deceiving, but it's a lot thinner around those areas. So just want to make sure I say that because I don't want to have to keep saying it every time I'm talking about ice fishing, which is going to be a lot in this report. So I wanted to say that up front. Next thing, we have some hearings coming up in the month of March, and these are all sort of surrounding the subject of sector separation, And what that means is that they're proposing the idea of taking the recreational allotment of species like scup, sea bass, fluke, and bluefish, and splitting it again so that the for-hire segment and the regular recreational fishermen like you and me, guys that don't do it professionally, are, they're going to take that quota and cut it again, which is going to make limits even harder to sort of deal with as recreational fishermen. It's probably going to be, the minimum sizes are going to be possibly larger. The bag limits are going to be possibly smaller, and the seasons are going to be possibly shorter. So, here at the Fisherman, we're trying to urge everybody to leave things as they are. So whether you go to one of these meetings or attend virtually, or if you're going to, have your public comment and just send it in via email, we're urging you to ask them to leave things as they are, because, if we cut these things any further, it's just going to be more difficult for everybody. So, please do that. I'm going to put the states and their different meetings up on the screen, and then after that, I'm going to put the email address where you can send your public comments. The public comments need to be in by March 20th, so get those fingers walking on the keyboard there and send those things in, and it's going to be a great thing. It's just the best option. So make sure you do that for us. And the other thing I want to say, another little PSA type of thing, is that this is the time of year, especially if you're not an ice fisherman, if you don't like going out there and drilling holes in the ice and trying to catch a fish, and all you're dreaming about is that open water fishing, doing some striper fishing or whatever, right now is the best time to go hit your local tackle shop. I worked in tackle shops for many years, and we didn't sell bait, so I can tell you that a lot of times, in February and March, you're kind of sitting there staring at the ceiling. But the thing you have to remember about tackle shops is that the guys that work there are the most knowledgeable guys you're going to find when it comes to picking out, your next big purchase. If you're going in to buy, rod and reel for stand-up tuna fishing, or you're trying to get your next surf stick, or if you're looking for rods for the kayak or whatever, yeah, you could go to a show, and that's a great idea. Go to a show, talk to the reps, and they're going to give you all the things that that are best from their company. And you can, walk around the whole show and take your notes that way. Or you can go to a shop and talk to a guy who works there, who knows all the products in the case, and who has probably used a lot of the products in the case, and then he's got the resources of all the other guys he works with. And that was one of my favorite things about working at a shop is, we had a guy who was a Shimano expert. This guy knew everything about Shimano products. We also had this other guy who I helped hire, this guy Kai, who was a Daiwa expert. So, in having those two guys as a resource for me, I got to learn everything about all of those lines. And then we had guys that knew a lot about Penn. We had a lot of guys who knew about Okuma, had a lot of guys who knew about Van Staal. And, once you sort of get that cross-referencing and all that sort of osmosis learning that happens in a shop, you can become a dangerous expert on all these things. So you can go in, especially on like a Tuesday in February, when that guy's, just scrolling through his Instagram feed endlessly because he's checked the shelves 500 times. And you're going to get the best rundown you're going to get anywhere. Better than you're going to find on YouTube. Those guys are just reading spec sheets. You want these guys who really know what they're talking about, who have lived it, who have used it. So hit your local tackle shops. You're going to find experts there, and you're definitely going to walk out of there having made the best decision. And again, the wintertime's the best time to do it because you're going to get their undivided attention. So check them out. Next thing is the giveaway, which is ongoing. Photos are starting to trickle back in again. We're starting to see some pretty good ice fishing shots again. We're giving away a Surf Howdy made by me, and we're going to give away a Dexter fillet knife as well. This one's going to extend all the way until, I think it was May 28th or May 25th, the last Wednesday in May, whatever one that is. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, this is my favorite segment of the season. You go from ice to pre-spawn largemouth bass fishing to stock trout to striped bass and fluke and all that other stuff starting to show up in the month of May. And we should get a really diverse spread of photos. So get those into me at danderson@thefisherman.com or text them to the number on the screen, and we'll see who wins.
In the famed waters of Panama awaits a fishing experience like no other. Tropic Star Lodge welcomes anglers to get in on world-famous fishing action. Plan your perfect trip today. Tropic Star Lodge, the ultimate in fishing adventures for more than 60 years.
Crossing over to the reports now. Up in Maine, up in New Hampshire, up in Vermont, we have consistently safe ice. I'm hearing of a lot of places being well over a foot at this point, so you definitely want your gas auger when you go up there. Lake trout and other species of trout have been leading the way up there. We're seeing some really nice fish coming out of the big lakes like Winnipesaukee and Sebago and Moosehead. But even the smaller ponds are putting out good numbers of largemouth bass. Seeing all kinds of stock trout and tons of panfish. Things are really looking good, and as you get closer to the border, we're starting to see some more pike. We're seeing some really nice photos of pike coming in. And as we cross over into Massachusetts, we'll start with Kevin Huang from Surfland Bait and Tackle.
What's up, guys? Kevin from Surfland Bait and Tackle checking in with the weekly fishing report. Ice fishing still going on. As long as we have these cold fronts all the time, the ice should stay pretty solid. And it's, I guess from talking to a lot of guys, it's been an issue with getting shiners. But I would just call around to the different shops because, this time of the year, it's hours of operation and everything. But if you want to do artificial, if you want to do the whole panfish thing, crappie, yellow perch, white perch, if you want to, one of the easiest things is Petco. Any of the pets type of stores, they carry mealworms. Mealworms are amazing just to put on a jig head and jig. And then if you can find some like different types of little micro soft plastics, that will work too. But I mean, other than that, it could be spoons. And then you even have Rapala jigging wraps. Those are awesome for large bass and smallmouth and big yellow perch. I mean, any of those things will work pretty good. So this time of the year, I would just stick it out, keep ice fishing, and then striper season, and then ice out and everything's gonna start rolling soon. Not that far away now. Catch you guys next time.
Now we're going to head down to Boston Harbor and check in with Danny Parma from Fish Bucket Sport Fishing.
Thanks, Dave. Dan checking in with this week's report. Not much going on this week. It's been blowing out like 40. and not many reports going on. If you are out there, God bless you. Yeah, not much going on. I booked a ticket for the Castafari seminar event coming up beginning of March. I believe it's the 1st and 2nd. It's a really good show if you're trying to get to the next level on your tuna game. They go over all kinds of stuff. If you're into offshore fishing, it's a good opportunity to learn some knots, new techniques, do some, how to be a better fisherman when you're offshore, whether canyon fishing or, out at the bank. They have a whole bunch of seminars going on. We are also gearing up for the Rissa show coming up. I believe it's the 7th, 8th, and 9th of March. That's a show that we look forward to every year. We have a booth, Fish Bucket Sport Fishing, Dirty Water Tackle, and Boston Massacre. It's a good chance to get out there, get some gear. Usually you can get a good discount on some rods, some reels, some lures. And it's a good time to get out there and see everyone and get ready for D-Day. That's what I got for you guys. Stay warm, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Now we're going to hit Central Mass, and everything I've been hearing from back in my old stomping grounds is the fishing's been great. The ice is very safe, we're seeing 10 to 12 inches up there, and watch the edges, of course. But all the hot spots have been good, like Whitehall and A1's been putting out some good largemouth. I heard some nice pike coming off the coves of the Sudbury River. And I know Comet Pond has been kicking out some really good trout action, whether you're jigging or fishing tip-ups. So a lot of great fishing going on in Central Mass. Heading further west from there, let's check in now with Roy Leyva.
Hey Dave, Roy Leyva here, checking in from Western Mass. All I can say is it's been cold and it's been windy. Thank God for shanties, because I don't know if I've been able to stand out here all week long on the ice. But fishing continues to be pretty successful. I will say that the snowfall that we got and then that rainstorm that came through has put a cap of ice on top of the snow, so you do break through when you're walking. So walking has been really tough. The wind has been brutal this week, but the fishing continues to be strong. So if you head out here, make sure, one, four-wheel drive is going to help you, because there's not a lot of places to put the snow, so parking isn't readily available in a lot of places. So you're going to need four-wheel drive. There's a lot of ice out there. Nobody's got salt, so roads look like they haven't even been plowed. So you're probably not going to want to walk very far unless you got a snowmobile or a four-wheeler that's going to get you around. But fishing is great. It's just you got to put up with the elements of late season cold year, right? So I will catch you guys later. Sorry I'm out of breath. Just came back from running for flags, but catch you guys next week. Later.
Now making the big jump down to southeast Mass. A lot of safe ice in that area as well. I would just stay away from the south coast, the Buzzards Bay coastline. I would try to head, 7-8 miles inland from there to find the safest ice. I talked to Pete Belson over at Belson's Bait and Tackle the other day. He said they still got 7-8 inches of ice on most ponds out there. Heard really good trout fishing from Little Pond and Long Pond. and lots of good bass fishing on several of the local reservoirs, and also a lot of those cranberry bog ponds. I don't know what they put in those cranberry bogs, but they really put out some big bass and some big pickerel. So I definitely want to check that out. Crossing the canal, we got plenty of safe ice, closer to the canal, and then the further out you go, once you get past like Barnstable area, it seems to get much more iffy. It has been a lot colder, so things could change, by the weekend, so you want to keep an eye on that. There was some open water opportunity out on the Cape. I have a feeling that we're going to be dealing with a lot more skim ice out there now, so you may want to call ahead, check with a local tackle shop, just see what kind of open water options there are if you're traveling. But as of right now, that was the only open water fishing that I had heard of anywhere. So if you're itching to bring out the rod and reel, I would call ahead, but the Cape might be your only option. And that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. We got no saltwater reports this week. Crossing over into Rhode Island, we'll start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Hey guys, thanks Dave. Just wanted to check in from the East Bay here. I got to tell you, last couple of days with the wind, rain on the previous weekend, it's been pretty slow over here, and we went from some open water back to ice again, not knowing how sketchy that ice is going to be. I think by the end of the week we should have some good ice to get back out on. My friend Matt checked in, and he tried to get out on Echo Lake in Barrington, and it was too soft, and it had about 1 inch of ice there and some open water. So he did not get out. So pretty much all my reports, from my guys that check in with me, and it just wasn't good, and not too much report. So when we're not out fishing, and or we can't get out and fish because of weather or whatever it may be, I'm here tying rigs. I got the jumbo spool here, and I pretty much will tie all my tautog rigs and some of my dropper rigs for fluke, all winter, because that's what I do. So I pretty much will tie them and then put like what it is, a tog rig, and then I got a bunch of them, and then I'll go ahead and I'll just put them in a big bag, a bag to a bag. That way they're individually ready. I can grab them, got the hook on it already, and I use the coastal lock, and I'll put a double surgeon's loop on the top, and I can just hook them on if I break off on the bottom, and maybe throw another sinker on. I've been making sinkers too. I do have the mold for that, and I also make jig heads, and that's coming up soon. But it's hard to make the jig heads in the sinkers right now. It's cold. You really need a couple of torches because you got to keep that ladle that you pour with hot. It just doesn't work out too good. Moving over into southeastern Mass is the same story. South Watupa had a bunch of open water on it, and I only know that. I see it, I drive by it every day to go to work. Some of the Kopecky was wide open, and a little bit of a couple of ponds in Rochester, Mary's Pond and Leonard Pond, had a lot of open water too. I did see some guys out there fishing from the shore. And one other thing is, I know that John Migliori again, got to talk about him. He did well with some trout this week, and hopefully he continues to keep doing that. I'm sure he's just fishing off the dock there where there is some safeness there without having to walk on the ice too much. But from the East Bay guys, I'll check in with you next week, tight lines.
Everything that I've been hearing from Rhode Island has been from the ice. I talked to a few of the guys that are down in Point Judith Harbor. It sounds like all the headboats have been tied to the dock. It's been just terribly windy and terribly cold, which has kept them all tethered. So I haven't heard anything from the codfish fleet, and the things I'd heard before this week were not so hot. So you definitely want to keep an eye on their social media for when they get out next. But for now, I would concentrate on the ice. Pretty much across all of Rhode Island. Again, the coastal ponds in Rhode Island, just like last week, I would call them not safe. It has been cold, but it's been too windy for that open water to reform into ice. So you want to stay, 8-10 miles from the shore, from the coastline. But guys that are fishing inland Rhode Island are doing very well, especially on panfish. The panfishing has been incredible. We have seen a lot of largemouth bass and a few trout coming out as well. And for a little bit more on that, plus, some looking forward into the spring season, let's check in with Jeff Sullivan.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Dave? Checking back in this week. This weather's been crazy. Between the fronts, the rain, the wind, the snow, the refreeze, You know, the bite's been actually really good. The bite's been good. The trout bite's been good. The panfish bite's been really good. The largemouth bite's been okay. My buddy's been targeting pike through the ice, excuse me, but I'm doing very well with that. You know, it's been status quo, but the thing is, the weather's going to change the ice conditions, so you just got to really check where you're going, because, you know, ice can be safe 1 minute, and then you go back the next day, it's not safe at all. So you just got to use your safety equipment, your proper safety equipment, and check the ice. Never trust ice, ever. You don't want to snorkel in end of February in Rhode Island through the ice. It's bad. It's very cold. It's 30 degrees, so it's not good. But as far as the bite goes, Dave, we're doing really good still with the panfish. I'm addicted to panfishing through the ice. I think it's the coolest thing ever. It's so fun. It's very technical too. Guys don't think it's technical, but it's very technical. It kind of keeps you on your toes, but it's fun. But the fact that we have ice this late in the season, or what we have left of this ice, it's kind of cool. You know, it's a blessing. So get out there, guys, before we lose it, because it's going to happen like any week now with these weather windows that we just had, with it blowing 50 for 2 days and 2 inches of rain. It's not going to stay. But I've been doing that and get my longer rods out, open water gear ready. Just put new lines on my reels this week, and just putting my back bay box together for striped bass and white perch and all that fun stuff. And this Rapala Shad Wrap is my go-to bait. This is my magnet of choice when I go to the back bays. It just matches your array of forage of bait, even out front in the bigger water. I mean, switch the hooks on it, make sure you put some good hardware on it, and this thing slays. And I just threw this in my bag the other day. Is the GT eel, my gravity tackle eel. And I cut the spring off the top and just rigged it inside the body and put some nail weights in it. The eel presentation in the back bay is awesome. That's one of my favorite presentations to use. And Dave, I can check with you guys back next week on more ice fishing, maybe, or open water. Might have an open water report for you guys. But all right, I'm going fishing. Later.
And now we're going to take a quick check-in with Captain John Lee from JL Charters, get a little feel for what's going on in his world. Here he is.
Hey, it's John Lee, JL Charters, Point Youth, Rhode Island. It's the middle of February. Been a very cold 2 weeks. We've had freezing spray, lots of winds over 30 knots. I've been out quite a bit on the pilot boat. It's been sloppy, it's been cold. The Block Island Sound looks like a desert. There's nothing there. There's a couple of eider ducks, a couple of loons, a couple of gulls, but just kind of a blank canvas at the moment. I did the past few days, I'm kind of going through my tackle area here. It was a disaster, kind of a blend of various clutters, all kind of in one area. So I went through it, organized it, and now I'm going to start breaking some reels down, getting some lube in there, getting some grease in there. I might set up the fly tying vise, something I haven't done in maybe 3 decades. And I might actually tie some sea bass teasers. And we'll see if I get to that. That's a big maybe on that. But I'd like to tie up some sea bass teasers and use those this coming season. I got no fishing report. I haven't thought about fishing. I went ice fishing a little bit right when we had ice, early ice, maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. But my heart wasn't really in it, and I kind of packed it up again. So I think this week, next week, I'm going to start going through gear, doing inventory. I do need to order some rods. I broke up some rods last year. Get some umbrella rigs together, get some surgical tubing, just kind of get things in order for May and June. Anyway, I'll give you a report on that, and I hope all is well. Take care.
And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Just a lot of ice fishing going on, and that's pretty much the story everywhere. Crossing over into Connecticut now, there's 3 fisheries that are really standing out in Connecticut right now. They're all ice fisheries. One of them has been the pan fishing, which has just been off the charts. It doesn't matter if you're fishing some no-name pond or you're fishing the coves of the Connecticut River. The bite has been really good. We're seeing lots of nice crappie. We're seeing lots of both white and yellow perch. And we're just seeing so many guys bringing out the jigging rod and just having a great time doing that. We're seeing a lot of kids getting involved as well, which I love. And then, you know, the state did a really great job stocking. And So a lot of these ponds that have been stocked have been putting out good numbers of trout. I've seen tons of kids getting involved, which I also love to see. And a lot of these kids are using the jigging rod and pulling out some nice trout, so that's been great. And then the other thing that's really been getting a lot of attention from guys is the pike fishing. Now, it's funny, the Connecticut River coves have just not been as good over these last couple of years as they have been in the past. But the stocked ponds like Bantam, like Mansfield, like Patchogue, have all been fairly productive. Now, most of these places are putting out small to medium fish, but there have been some dinosaurs coming out of these spots as well. So if you want to get on a pike, I would check the DEEP website and figure out, those ponds that have been stocked, especially the ones that have been stocked, consistently and over several years. You got a good chance of finding a really nice fish, and the bite has been reportedly pretty darn good. I've also seen some guys pulling some striped bass out of some various spots. No one's really being too forthcoming with the info on exactly where these fish are being caught, but I have seen some striped bass being caught on jigging rods, some of them up to 30 inches, which is pretty darn cool. And I'm hoping to see more of that before the ice goes away. Now we're going to check in with our field correspondents, and we'll start things off with Rowan Lytle.
Hey everyone, phenomenal ice conditions persist through this week. We got another great blast of Arctic air, and that has maintained the ice and rebuilt it in a lot of places. We're looking at as much as 14, 15 inches on some of the Connecticut River coves, generally 10 to a foot. That should hold out, even though we're looking at a change to some warmer weather coming into like mid-weekend. Saturday should still be below freezing, and then it'll warm up a bit. But since we have so much ice, it's going to hold around for a little while. It'll be a bit before we have proper open water fishing, I think. So ice is still the play. Pike have been hammered in a lot of spots. You're better off setting your tip-ups somewhere you don't see a lot of holes. They're getting a little familiar with it. Panfish are kind of on the tricky side sometimes too, so smaller, more finesse presentations are probably your better move. Sometimes it's a good idea to switch to plastics if you're having trouble drawing them on wax worms, especially somewhat non-traditional plastics, things like creature baits, stuff like that. So try and fool around if you're having a difficult time on pressured fish, but the ice will maintain for a while. All the coves are still in good shape, and there's definitely too much pack ice and shelf ice in the main stem of the river for any sort of open water fishing for a good long while.
Now we'll head down the river and check in with Mike Roy from Real Cast Charters.
Hey, what's up everybody? Just got back from a great trip in Panama. We were catching yellowfin tuna, roosterfish, cubero snapper, and a bunch of different other species. If you're interested in getting on that trip for next year, reach out to me. This Saturday, February 22nd, I'll be at Mohegan Sun with George Pavaramo and a whole bunch of other speakers at the National Saltwater Sportsman Seminar Series. So check that out. It's going to be 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You do need to buy tickets in advance to attend. Down here in my basement, spooling up my reels for next season. And right here, I have the Shimano Vanford A. This is a really lightweight spinning reel. This is a size 4,000. I spooled it with 10-pound Power Pro Super Slick. Now the Vanford has an MGL rotor, which makes it really light, and it has very low startup inertia, so it's really a great reel for finesse fishing. And I paired this on a Shimano Zodius medium heavy rod, 7-foot rod. This rod and reel is super lightweight. Going to be great for throwing small soft plastics for stripers and fish for albies. But recommend check this out. Get this in your hand and feel how lightweight this setup is. That's all I have for you. Hope to see you this weekend.
Now we'll head over to Westbrook and check in with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
What's up everyone, Matt here from Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook with this week's fishing report. Stop me if you've heard this before, there's a lot of ice, it's very cold. I was out yesterday on the water, between 6 and 8 inches of ice conservatively. So plenty of ice fishing opportunities, all the normal stuff for that, jigging and tip-ups and all that stuff. Otherwise, I would imagine, I haven't gone recently, but trout streams and things like that, if there's no ice on the edges and you can get a cast into some moving water, always an option. It does look like a little bit of a micro warm-up in the future here, so I could fire up some of those fish that are going a little more dormant during these real hard freezes. Otherwise, countdown to spring.
Now we'll head up to the Farmington and we'll check in with Derrick Kirkpatrick from Connecticut Fish Guides.
Hi, Dave. I'm coming to you today inside the office again. Was hoping that I'd be able to get out, but the wind is quite nasty. The good news is that the weather trend is going to change for next week. Starting Sunday, the weather looks really fishy. We're going to be up into the mid 30s and 40s, and more importantly, the wind is going to be under 10 miles an hour for most of the week. What you do want to pay attention to is overnight temps. We've talked about in the past. The overnight temps are going to be pretty warm, upper 20s to in some cases 30s, lower 30s. What that means is we're going to get quite a bit of melt, and that's going to throw in a bit of a negative spike. Now, the water's already cold. We've been dealing with slush on the river, so even in the latter part of the day when it warms up, you're still having to fight through slush. Now, people have been taking a good fish here or there, but it's usually one fish, and it's really just a grind through the nasty conditions. But next week, I feel like, you're going to want to pay attention to feeder streams, dumping icy cold water in, certain parts of the day where the snow melt is at the peak. That's going to be your slower bite windows. But we should have bugs too. It looks like quite a few of the days are going to be overcast. So, I'm not seeing like a super heavy bite that we're going to get. But it's going to be more weather related. We do have some light precipitation coming in, so jigs will definitely be a good bet and on the menu. We may even see slight flow bump. So stone flies, I think, are really gonna be the ticket. Your smaller stones and your early stones, which they're about a 14. Your smaller stones are in that 18 range, 18 to 16, somewhere in there. The caprias, and then of course your larger stone flies too. Towards the back end of the day, coming out of winter, there's a pretty good bite window where the fish are not super picky on the Farmington. It's hard to see because of the light and the sun being low for indication of takes and stuff like that, but I have seen some pretty sloppy bites when that sun's getting right at tree level. So if you're getting out, I would say, if anything, it's definitely still going to be a grind, but more of the day is going to be fishable. There shouldn't be much of any slush in the water come next week. Currently though, you're going to be dealing with that, and you're going to be dealing with wind. So if you're going to get out immediately, I would say in the latter part of the day, 2 o'clock's probably a good time period, 1 to 2, and you still might even have to deal with slush. So the reports should get a lot more interesting come next week. I'm still out guiding on the ice, so transitioning a little bit. The fishing's just been better ice fishing than it has been fly fishing, but that can change in a heartbeat. Consistency is more important in the winter than anything. So back to you, Dave.
Heading out west from there, I talked to Max today, and he said they hadn't really heard a lot, so I kind of pressed him for a little bit of info. So the only thing he'd heard is that the ice is still a problem inside the Housatonic, although a few guys are going out there and trying to dodge the icebergs as they float by. The bite has been very, very slow. Water's extremely cold, but the guys are finding a few fish now and then, just fishing super slow, super low with big soft plastics. And if you put in a lot of time on one of those nights when you can actually, take the cold, the bite's been slow, but you got a shot at maybe getting 1 or 2 fish. And then he also said he's heard of some guys heading up to Bantam Lake and pulling some pike there. And then I also heard about a few more guys heading out to Candlewood where the ice remains safe. You got to check the edges, of course, and probably want to concentrate more on the coves. But the smallmouth bite has continued there, so that's another option for you guys. And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. You know, hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out on the ice. And if it doesn't, like I said in that little piece I did in the intro, head over to your local tackle shop and you know, get your stuff, get your rod and reel serviced. Or, you know, if you're in the market for something new, now's the time. You go hit a tackle shop and utilize their expertise, because these guys have got it in spades and they're more than happy to talk about it. If you're not a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, I highly recommend you head over to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You get a full taste of what we offer. We cover all the fishing from Delaware to Maine, and we cover a lot of travel stuff outside the area, and we cover all angling disciplines, whether you're a surf guy, whether you're a paddleboard guy, whether you're using your center console to head out to the canyons, or you're doing inshore stuff in the kayak. We cover it all. It's $31.95 for the year. You're going to get 12 editions sent to your house. Those are the paper magazines. You're going to get 26 digital editions sent to your email from April to November. You're also going to get digital access to all the back issues and both of our other editions. So we have the New Jersey Delaware edition, Long Island Metro edition, and then my edition, the New England edition. And again, you know, $32 is the best $32 you can spend in fishing. If you hit the website and you're still not interested, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing right about there so you get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.